The lights dimmed inside the packed Los Angeles arena. Thousands of fans rose to their feet, cameras flashing, waiting for the next exhibition fighter to enter. But when the giant screen lit up, the crowd exploded. Walking through the smoke-filled tunnel, muscles flexed and eyes locked straight ahead, was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He hadn't stepped into a martial arts ring in years, not since that humiliating day when Steven Seagal, the legendary Aikido master, effortlessly disarmed and defeated him during a public charity demonstration. It was supposed to be a friendly exhibition, but for The Rock, it became a lifelong reminder, the day he was humbled in front of millions. Now, years later, he was back, stronger, sharper, and hungry for redemption. As The Rock climbed into the ring, the announcer's voice thundered through the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, The Rock is back!" The audience roared, chanting his name. He grabbed the mic and said with a smirk, "Last time I underestimated an old man. This time I'm ready." The camera panned to the side of the arena, and there sat Steven Seagal dressed in his trademark black kimono and tinted glasses, calm as a mountain. He didn't even flinch. Reporters swarmed around him, shouting questions. Seagal simply replied, "I don't fight for fame. I fight for truth. But if he wishes to learn again, I'll teach him one last time." The Rock stared down from the ring, his jaw tightening. He'd been waiting for this moment, the chance to erase the past. The tension in the arena was electric. Every spectator could feel it. Two living legends, opposite in style and spirit, about to collide again. The Rock raised his fist to the sky, shouting, "This time it ends differently." And somewhere deep in the crowd, Seagal's calm voice replied, almost like a whisper carried by the wind, "Some lessons must be learned twice." The camera zoomed in on The Rock's face, confident, unshaken, unaware of the quiet storm he was walking into. No one expected what happened next when The Rock tried to challenge the master once again. The next morning, the internet was on fire. Clips of The Rock's dramatic return dominated every social platform. Hashtags like "Trotting The Rock v. Seagal" and "Rematch of Legends" were trending worldwide. News anchors debated it, influencers reacted to it, and fight analysts couldn't stop dissecting what might happen if the two ever faced each other again. But one question echoed across every headline. Would Steven Seagal accept? By afternoon, The Rock posted a short video to his 400 million followers. Standing inside his gym, drenched in sweat, he looked straight into the camera. "Last time I was caught off guard. I was a showman, not a fighter. But that day taught me something. Pride without proof means nothing. Steven, I respect what you've done, but I can't carry that loss forever. So here's my message. Let's finish this. One-on-one. No excuses." The video shattered the internet. Within hours, it hit 50 million views. Meanwhile, somewhere in Arizona, Steven Seagal was finishing his morning meditation. Dressed in his usual all-black robe, he moved through a slow Aikido sequence. Calm, centered, unhurried. His assistant entered the dojo holding a phone. "Sir, The Rock just called you out again." "It's everywhere." Seagal didn't even turn his head. He simply said, "If a man hasn't mastered himself, no victory can save him." Then he smiled faintly. "Tell the world I accept." When Seagal's response went public, the internet lost its mind. Two titans, two philosophies, two generations. Strength versus control. Every news channel began running countdowns to the showdown. ESPN called it the clash between muscle and mind. Fans flooded the comments with predictions, creating heated debates online. Who do you think will win this time? The Rock's raw power or Seagal's precise technique? Drop your pick in the comments and tell us which country and city you're watching from. Within days, both men began training in completely different worlds. In Miami, The Rock's gym echoed with the pounding of heavy bags and the roar of metal weights. Sweat dripped from his forehead as he worked through brutal MMA drills, sprint intervals, and sparring sessions with professional fighters. His coach yelled, "We're not fighting the same guy, we're fighting a legend. Be ready for anything." Every punch The Rock threw carried a mix of rage and determination. "This time," he muttered between sets, "I don't hold back." Across the ocean in Japan, Seagal trained in total silence. His dojo was empty except for a few students kneeling on the mat. He practiced fluid movements, redirecting invisible energy, mastering the art of stillness. To Seagal, the fight wasn't about defeating The Rock. It was about teaching him balance. As Seagal's students bowed, one asked, "Sensei, why accept a rematch now?" Seagal replied softly, "Because the loudest men often need silence to hear." Weeks passed. The media frenzy only grew stronger. Promoters branded it, "Respect or Revenge, the ultimate rematch." Posters covered city walls. Talk shows brought in martial arts experts. Fans around the world took sides. In one viral clip, an interviewer asked Seagal if he was afraid of The Rock's strength. He smiled faintly, saying, "You can't overpower what you can't touch." Meanwhile, The Rock fired back on Instagram, "I'm not the same guy I was." "This isn't a movie. This is personal." Training footage of both men began circulating. The Rock hitting massive weights, breaking punching bags, shouting motivational lines. Seagal, in contrast, moved like water. Calm, graceful, devastatingly controlled. The contrast fascinated everyone. Power versus patience. Speed versus strategy. Emotion versus stillness. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds of opinion. Some said Seagal was too old. Others said The Rock was too emotional to beat a true master. Finally, the official date was announced. The venue, Tokyo Dome, Japan. Capacity 55,000 spectators. Millions more would watch live around the globe. Both men stood before cameras at the press conference. The Rock wore his signature black leather jacket and shades, his massive frame towering over everyone. Seagal, calm as ever, folded his hands in front of him, his presence commanding silence. A reporter asked The Rock, "What makes you think you can beat Seagal this time?" He leaned forward, eyes locked on Seagal. "Because last time I came to impress people. This time I came to prove something to myself." Then another reporter turned to Seagal. "Mr. Seagal, what do you think of The Rock's confidence?" Seagal looked at The Rock and answered slowly, "Confidence is a flame. Wisdom is the wind. Let's see which lasts longer." The crowd erupted, flashes blinding the stage. The Rock extended his hand for a shake. Seagal accepted, firm, controlled, and unreadable. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. The world was ready. Two icons, two philosophies, one final lesson waiting to unfold. The Tokyo Dome pulsed with electricity. Over 50,000 fans filled the stadium, their cheers echoing like thunder. The world was watching. Two legends, two philosophies standing moments away from collision. Camera drones hovered above the ring, capturing every second. On one side stood Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, his muscular frame gleaming under the lights, fists wrapped tight. His breathing was heavy but steady, pure focus. Across from him, Steven Seagal entered slowly, dressed in his black gi, eyes hidden behind tinted glasses. His movements were calm, almost eerily so, as if the chaos of the crowd didn't exist. The announcer's voice roared through the arena. In this corner, standing 6'5", weighing 260 pounds, Hollywood's powerhouse, The Rock. The crowd exploded in cheers. And in the opposite corner, standing 6'4", master of Aikido, the man known as the human weapon, Steven Seagal. Applause turned to an electric hush. Cameras zoomed in. The bell rang. The Rock exploded forward. He launched a powerful jab, fast, precise. But Seagal simply shifted his weight and let the punch glide past his shoulder. No counter, no aggression, just control. The Rock blinked, confused for a split second, then attacked again. A spinning elbow this time. Seagal's hand rose in a blur. A light touch to The Rock's arm redirected the entire strike, sending The Rock stumbling a step to the side. The crowd gasped. The Rock grinned, half in frustration, half in disbelief. "Not bad, old man." Seagal said nothing, just raised one hand, beckoning him forward. That simple gesture ignited The Rock's pride. He lunged with a flurry of punches, each one thrown with lightning speed and raw power, but Seagal barely moved his feet. His hands, however, were a storm of precision. Every hit The Rock threw met with a deflection, a redirection, a twist of the wrist that threw him off balance. To the untrained eye, it looked like Seagal wasn't even fighting. He was flowing. Commentators couldn't believe what they were seeing. "It's like Seagal's reading his mind," one whispered. "The Rock's faster, stronger, but none of his attacks are landing." The audience was torn. Some cheered The Rock's aggression. Others were mesmerized by Seagal's stillness. Then, out of nowhere, The Rock caught Seagal's sleeve and pulled, attempting a takedown. It was pure instinct. Brute strength versus pure technique. Seagal pivoted, turning his body in a circular motion, and in one smooth movement flipped the rock over his shoulder. The stadium went silent. The rock hit the mat with a thud that echoed. The referee rushed forward, but the rock was already pushing himself up, eyes blazing with fury. He stood, wiping sweat from his forehead, jaw clenched tight. He charged again, or harder, faster. The crowd was on its feet, chanting his name. The mat trembled under his weight as he swung a devastating right hook aimed at Seagal's ribs. But Seagal didn't block. He stepped in. In one perfect second, he trapped the rock's arm, turned his hips, and redirected all of that force into nothingness. The rock stumbled forward, caught off guard. Seagal gently tapped his shoulder, a symbolic gesture. If that had been real combat, it could have been a knockout strike. Gasps filled the stadium. The rock froze. His breathing was heavy. Sweat dripped into his eyes. He could feel the crowd shifting, the cheers becoming whispers of awe for the calm, unshaken master standing before him. Seagal adjusted his collar, voice low but firm. "You fight with your muscles, not your mind. That's why you can't touch me." The rock's nostrils flared. For a moment he wanted to shout, to hit, to prove his strength mattered. But something inside him, something deep, told him this wasn't just a fight anymore. It was a lesson. The two circled again. The rock tried a low sweep followed by an uppercut. Seagal countered with fluid grace, turning the rock's momentum against him. Within seconds, the rock was back on the mat. The crowd erupted, half cheering, half stunned. Seagal stepped back, allowing the rock to rise again, his expression unreadable. Commentators buzzed through the speakers. This isn't brutality, it's art. Seagal's not fighting the rock. He's teaching him. The rock stood, chest-heaving, pride-battling realization. He raised his gloves again, but slower this time. He wasn't attacking recklessly now, he was studying. Respect was beginning to replace rage, Seagal noticed. A faint smile appeared on his lips. If you were in the rock's place and facing a calm master who reads every move, would you keep fighting or admit defeat? Drop your answer in the comments below and tell us why. As the round ended, the bell rang again. The rock lowered his hands. Seagal bowed, deeply, respectfully. The rock hesitated, then returned the bow. For a split second, the crowd saw something more than rivalry. They saw honor. But this was far from over. The next round would test more than strength. It would test ego, humility, and respect. The bell echoed through the Tokyo Dome like a thunderclap. Sweat dripped from the rock's face as he paced the mat, muscles flexing with each controlled breath. Across from him, Steven Seagal stood motionless, calm, still, composed. He looked as though he hadn't even broken a sweat. The Rock's team shouted from ringside, trying to fire him up. "You've got this, Rock." He's old school. Use your power. But deep down, Dwayne Johnson knew this wasn't about power anymore. This was about understanding. He'd faced the strongest men alive. Giants, wrestlers, fighters who could crush concrete. But Seagal was different. His presence alone felt like pressure. Every move was calculated, every silence deliberate. The referee signaled the next round. The crowd roared as The Rock raised his fists once more. Cameras zoomed in on his expression. The pride of a warrior mixed with the dawning respect of a student. Seagal's voice broke the silence. "Still chasing revenge, Dwayne?" The Rock froze. Hearing his real name from his opponent felt personal. He didn't reply. He simply moved forward, hands up, ready. Seagal stepped lightly, eyes locked. His voice was calm but sharp. "Revenge clouds the mind. That's why you can't see my movements." And just like that, Seagal attacked. A blur of motion, open palms, wrist locks, foot sweeps, flowing like water. The Rock blocked one, dodged another, and then caught one of Seagal's wrists mid-strike. For a brief second, he had him. The crowd gasped. But before he could tighten his grip, Seagal twisted, effortlessly reversing the hold and sending the Rock spinning backward. The Rock hit the mat again. The crowd erupted in disbelief. The cameras cut to the Rock's face. He wasn't angry anymore, and he was in awe. He got up slowly, dusting himself off. Seagal stood across the ring, giving him a moment. No mockery, no arrogance, just patience. Then Seagal spoke softly, just loud enough for the mic to catch. "Strength is only useful when guided by peace. Without control, it's just chaos." The words hit the Rock harder than any punch could. He looked around, at the roaring crowd, at the cameras, at his own reflection on the big screen. The man staring back wasn't the confident movie star or the global icon. It was a fighter, stripped down to raw instinct and pride. He took a deep breath, clenched his fists, and nodded slowly. This time he wasn't fighting to prove anything. He was fighting to learn. The next exchange was different. The Rock moved with purpose. Not wild aggression, but focus. His strikes were cleaner, measured. He wasn't trying to overpower Seagal. He was trying to read him, and for the first time Seagal smiled. The two began a rhythmic dance of combat, a showcase of skill versus discipline. The Rock's hits started grazing their mark, his timing sharper. The crowd sensed the shift and began chanting louder. "Rock! Rock! Rock!" Seagal nodded slightly, acknowledging the improvement. But then he stepped in again. One swift motion, disarming the Rock's guard, spinning him around and pressing a single finger just below his neck. The Rock froze. Seagal whispered, "If I push here, fight's over." Then he lowered his hand and stepped back. The crowd gasped. The Rock didn't move for a second, then slowly nodded. He understood. This wasn't humiliation anymore. It was a lesson in mastery. The commentators were stunned. This is incredible. Seagal's not trying to win. He's teaching. And The Rock, he's realizing it. The Rock stepped forward and extended his hand, a gesture of mutual respect. The audience went silent, cameras zooming in, but Seagal didn't shake it. Instead, he bowed, deeply. The Rock blinked, caught off guard, then returned the bow. The crowd exploded into applause. Not for the fight, but for the moment. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about understanding mastery, humility, and legacy. Who do you respect more, the fighter who wins with strength or the master who wins with wisdom? Comment your answer below and tell us which one you'd rather be. The Rock looked up, breathing heavily but smiling now. He turned to Seagal and said quietly, "You're still the master, old man." Seagal chuckled softly. "Age teaches you what pride never will." The referee stepped between them, signaling the final round. This time there was no hostility and only anticipation. Two warriors, two worlds, about to finish not as enemies, but as men who understood each other. The crowd's roar was deafening. The Tokyo Dome vibrated with the energy of thousands of fans on their feet, chanting, screaming, waiting for what they all knew was coming, the final round. The Rock stood tall, chest heaving, body glistening under the arena lights. His muscles ached, his pride burned, but his spirit refused to break. Across the ring, Steven Seagal stood perfectly calm, as if he were meditating in the middle of a storm. The referee's hand dropped. The bell rang. The Rock charged forward. No hesitation this time. His movements were sharp, his strikes clean, his focus unshakable. This wasn't the same reckless fighter who entered the ring earlier. This was a warrior who'd learned to respect the storm standing before him. He threw a right cross, then a low kick. Fast, accurate. Seagal blocked the first, parried the second. The Rock spun, delivering a back elbow mid-graze Seagal's shoulder. The crowd gasped. For the first time all night, The Rock had touched him. "Let's go," someone shouted from the audience. The energy surged. The Rock kept pressing forward, each strike more precise than the last. Seagal responded like flowing water, and calm, effortless. He moved not to overpower but to guide. Every punch The Rock threw became a lesson in timing and balance. Then came a brief moment. The Rock feinted left and caught Seagal's arm, twisting in a classic grappling maneuver. The crowd exploded as The Rock executed a perfect takedown. Seagal hit the mat but rolled gracefully, landing on his feet like a cat. The audience went wild. The Rock grinned, his confidence returning. "Guess I learned a few things, huh?" Seagal tilted his head slightly. Learning is one thing, understanding is another. Before The Rock could respond, Seagal moved. It happened so fast the cameras barely caught it. A blur of motion. Seagal sidestepped, redirected The Rock's next punch, grabbed his wrist, and spun behind him. With a single controlled motion, he brought The Rock down to one knee, locking his arm gently but firmly. The Rock winced, caught but unharmed. It wasn't violent, it was precise. Seagal released him instantly and stepped back. The message was clear. "I could have ended it, but I choose peace." The crowd fell silent. No cheers, no boos, just awe. The Rock stayed on one knee, breathing hard. Sweat dripped onto the mat. His eyes lifted slowly to meet Seagal's. In that gaze, he didn't see arrogance. He saw wisdom. This wasn't humiliation. It was revelation. Seagal spoke softly, almost like a mentor addressing a student. The greatest victory isn't defeating others. It's mastering yourself. The Rock bowed his head. For the first time in his career, he wasn't thinking about winning. He was thinking about understanding. He rose to his feet slowly, nodding with respect. "You're right. I came here for revenge. But I found something else." Seagal gave a faint smile. "Sometimes you have to lose the fight to win your soul." The Rock extended his hand, and not in defiance, but in gratitude. This time Seagal accepted it. Their handshake drew thunderous applause from every corner of the arena. Commentators' voices filled the air. This isn't a fight anymore, and this is a lesson being witnessed by millions. Seagal's composure. The Rock's humility. This is what martial arts is truly about. The referee raised Seagal's hand, declaring him the winner. But The Rock didn't look defeated. He raised Seagal's other hand himself, turning to the audience and shouting over the noise, "This man taught me more in one night than most do in a lifetime." The crowd went wild. People were crying, clapping, recording every second. The two men bowed deeply to each other. It wasn't actor versus martial artist anymore. It was warrior to warrior. Seagal leaned in quietly, his words barely audible. "You have strength, Dwayne. Now learn to carry it with silence." The Rock nodded. "And you have peace. That's something I've been chasing my whole life." As they exited the ring, the lights dimmed slightly. The cameras followed them walking side by side down the ramp. Not rivals anymore, but allies. Outside the arena, social media exploded. Clips of Seagal's calm counters, The Rock's humility, and their final handshake went viral. Hashtags like "the respect over revenge" and "Seagal vs Rock" dominated every platform. Reporters swarmed them backstage, asking if there would be a rematch. The Rock smiled. "A rematch? Nah, some lessons don't need to be repeated." Seagal chuckled softly, nodding in agreement. Wisdom always wins in the end. If you were The Rock, standing before a man who could beat you without hate, without pride, would you keep fighting or walk away in peace? Drop your thoughts below and tell us what real strength means to you. That night, both men walked out of the arena changed. The Rock came seeking revenge, but left with humility. And Seagal? He didn't just win a fight. He reminded the world what mastery, discipline, and peace truly look like. The morning after the fight, the world woke up to chaos online. Clips of Steven Seagal effortlessly countering The Rock's attacks flooded every platform. Slow-motion replays of the takedowns, the bow, and that final handshake spread like wildfire. Within hours, hashtags trended across the globe. Respect over revenge, Seagal vs Rock, the Master and the Mountain Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, everyone had an opinion. Some called it the most humbling moment in sports entertainment. Others said The Rock didn't lose, he evolved. Even legendary fighters and actors chimed in. Mike Tyson tweeted, "That wasn't a fight. That was wisdom teaching pride." Jackie Chan posted, "True martial arts isn't about violence. It's about control." Seagal proved that. The Rock, meanwhile, stayed silent. No press conferences. No social media posts. Just silence. For a man known for his energy, humor, and constant presence online, the silence spoke volumes. 3 days later, he broke it. A video appeared on The Rock's Instagram. No music, no filters, no movie lights. Just him sitting in a quiet gym wearing a hoodie, a bandage still wrapped around his forearm. He looked straight into the camera. "You know, sometimes life reminds you that strength isn't about who can hit the hardest. It's about who can stay calm when everything's coming at you." He paused, then smiled softly. "I went into that ring with pride. I left with peace. Steven Seagal didn't just beat me, he taught me." The comments section exploded. Millions poured in from around the world. Messages of respect, gratitude, and admiration. Real men admit when they've learned. That's why The Rock will always be the people's champ. Seagal and Rock just gave the world a masterclass in humility. Meanwhile, Seagal was interviewed by a Japanese TV channel. When asked how he felt about defeating one of the most powerful men in the world, he just smiled. "I didn't defeat anyone. I simply showed him that peace has power too." The clip went viral instantly. 2 different men, 2 different generations, one shared message, respect. That evening, something unexpected happened. The Rock held a live press event in Los Angeles. Reporters, cameras, and fans flooded the space. Everyone expected the usual bravado. Instead, The Rock walked in quietly, holding a single item in his hand, a framed photograph. It was a picture of the moment Seagal bowed after the fight. He placed it on the podium and said, "This man reminded me what discipline really means. I grew up thinking being strong was about domination, but true strength is being calm when the world tests you." Applause filled the room. The Rock continued, "I challenged Steven Seagal to prove a point. Instead, he proved one to me. I'll never forget it." Reporters asked if he planned to challenge Seagal again. The Rock smiled and shook his head. "Once you've met your teacher, you don't ask for another lesson." The crowd laughed softly, but there was deep respect in the air. As the conference ended, Seagal appeared via video call from Japan. The two men shared a respectful nod. The audience rose to their feet in applause, not for a fight but for forgiveness and wisdom. Have you ever faced someone who humbled you, not with anger, but with calm wisdom? Tell your story in the comments. Let's spread respect instead of rivalry. By that night, their moment had become a worldwide symbol. Schools, sports academies, and even corporate seminars played the clip of The Rock's words, using it to teach lessons about leadership, patience, and emotional control. One commentator on ESPN said, "This wasn't just entertainment. It was evolution. We all saw pride bow to peace." Weeks later, The Rock visited a martial arts dojo in Los Angeles. He trained quietly with young students practicing Aikido, Seagal's art. When asked why, he replied, "Because learning never stops. Even at the top, you can still be a student." Photos of him bowing before his instructor the same way. Seagal bowed before him, went viral once again. Fans around the world started a new trend called the Bow Challenge. People posted short videos bowing to their mentors, coaches, parents, and friends using the caption, "Respect is stronger than revenge." Even Seagal commented on one video with a simple message, "When ego bows, wisdom rises." The Rock reposted it on his account with a caption that read, "Couldn't have said it better, Master Seagal." The internet loved it. Two men who once represented opposite sides, pride and peace, had become symbols of mutual respect. And somewhere in Tokyo, in the same dojo where it all began, Steven Seagal was seen teaching again, calm as ever. A reporter asked if he thought The Rock would ever visit him again. Seagal smiled. "When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And when the student learns, the teacher disappears." He looked up at a photo hanging on the wall, the two of them bowing in the ring, and said quietly, "He learned." Months passed since the legendary showdown between Steven Seagal and The Rock, yet the world still talked about it. The fight had transcended entertainment. It had become a movement. Documentaries were made, schools discussed it in ethics classes, and hashtags like "respect over revenge" were still trending. But for The Rock, it wasn't about fame anymore. He'd changed. Gone was the man who sought to prove dominance. In his place stood someone calmer, grounded. His training routine now included meditation, breathing exercises, and martial arts philosophy. Reporters often spotted him bowing before stepping into the gym, a quiet nod to the man who taught him the meaning of stillness. Then one day, a surprise invitation arrived, the International Martial Arts Summit in Kyoto, Japan, a global event celebrating legends who advanced the art through discipline and peace, had chosen to honor both Steven Seagal and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson with Lifetime Achievement Awards. The world buzzed with anticipation. Would they share the same stage again? Would there be tension or reunion? When the night came, the hall overflowed with people. Monks, martial artists, celebrities, all gathered to witness history one more time. The lights dimmed. A short film played, clips of both men's journeys. The Rock's rise from wrestling to Hollywood greatness, his fight with Seagal and his evolution since then. Then came Seagal, decades of discipline, mastery, and teaching. When the video ended, the announcer's voice echoed through the hall. "Please welcome to the stage and two warriors who showed the world that humility is the highest form of strength, Steven Seagal and Dwayne Johnson." The crowd erupted in cheers. Seagal walked in first, calm and composed, dressed in traditional black robes. The Rock followed in a formal suit, his expression humble and warm. They met at center stage. For a moment, the entire audience went silent. The Rock stepped forward first and bowed deeply. Gasps filled the hall. Then Seagal smiled faintly and returned the bow. The two men shook hands as flashbulbs exploded from every direction. The Rock took the microphone first. Months ago, I entered a fight thinking I needed to prove I was the strongest. But life, and this man, showed me that real strength isn't about breaking others. It's about controlling yourself. The audience applauded, emotional. He turned toward Seagal.
That day you humbled me.
But more than that, you helped me find peace I didn't even know I needed. Thank you. Seagal nodded respectfully. You found it yourself, Dwayne. I just reminded you where to look. The hall went completely silent, then burst into a standing ovation. The Rock continued. We live in a world where people think respect makes you weak. But it doesn't. Respect is power, the kind that doesn't fade when the lights go out. He paused, smiled at Seagal, and raised his award. To the man who taught me that peace can win any fight, I dedicate this to you. Seagal, normally reserved, smiled warmly. He stepped up to the microphone. And I dedicate mine to every fighter learning to listen more than they punch. The crowd cheered. Cameras caught the moment. Two men, once rivals, now united in wisdom. If you believe strength means more than muscles, if you believe respect and wisdom are the true marks of greatness, type honor in the comments below. Let's remind the world what real power looks like. As the ceremony ended, reporters flooded the stage. But The Rock and Seagal didn't stay for interviews. They slipped out quietly into the Kyoto night, walking side by side through the temple gardens. Cherry blossoms drifted through the air. The Rock looked up and chuckled. You know, Master Seagal, I still think I can take you one day. Seagal smirked. Maybe, but by then you won't need to. They both laughed softly, their footsteps echoing down the stone path. Student and teacher, warrior and sage. The camera faded out on a still shot of the two men walking into the distance beneath the glowing lanterns. Text appeared on screen. Respect is stronger than revenge. Strength is nothing without peace. Fade to black. Roll credits.